Hi, I'm Mike Phillips. In this video, we're going to examine just that. We'll look at historically relevant SEO algorithms, as well as the main players today. We'll also compare and contrast different types of algorithms and how they work, so that you can fully understand more than just the names, you understand their function. We'll also cover different categories of algorithms, what makes them different from one another, and why each is important in their own way. Lastly, we'll discuss business context for SEO algorithms, as well as pitfalls you should avoid. At the end of this video, there'll be an assignment for you to practice what you've learned on your own. Let's get started. Oftentimes, an algorithm is referred to as machine learning. It's a set of rules, processes, and formulas that are designed to interpret actions and sets of data to predict future value. They call this machine learning because it is the machine, an algorithm, a formula, your computer, the AI, learning from the humans that are interacting with data. This is important to remember because algorithms determine future relevance based on past behavior. Algorithms weigh many factors in determining future relevance. That's why it's important to understand the ones that are in play today so that you can better influence your ranking tomorrow. The specific kind of algorithm relevant to us is a search algorithm. This is an algorithm that parses a large set of data to determine which pieces of data are the ones that should be surfaced based on a query. And as we all know, the big player in this space is Google. Google's algorithm is really not a single algorithm. There are many formulas in play, parsing the massive amount of data on the web. Your content is going to be one point in a billions and billions and billions large matrix of information. And over time, different components of this algorithm have been changed, added, or removed. Google tends to give its algorithm changes convenient names, almost like branding. These are meant to call attention to the major changes they're making and substantiate why they've made those changes. There's also some that are less transparent, more proprietary, that we can only infer based on the performance of content after the change takes place. Major revisions included Panda in 2011 and Penguin in 2012. These are names for changes that were meant to reduce spam and poor quality. In 2013, Hummingbird reduced keyword stuffing by demoting content that exploited this practice. In 2015, an update named simply Mobile was meant to increase ranking for mobile device users with mobile-friendly content. RankBrain and Medic came out in 2015 and 2018 respectively. RankBrain was focused on reducing shallow content in the search results, while Medic was designed to decrease low-authority results. In 2019, an update named BERT reduced prevalence of poor writing and content that had a lack of focus or context. At this point, Google began to go to less transparent updates. They simply called them core updates. Rather than giving them branded names, these changes were made with a lot less visibility into what aspects of content ranking were affected. SEO specialists now had to do lagging indicator tests, simply waiting till the change took place, measuring the results firsthand, and looking for signals and causal relations in the noise. This brief history lesson into the changes of Google's search algorithms is important for you to understand. The changes will only continue. Your business impact is immense. Whether an employee or a consultant, knowing that these changes are constant are important for you to be able to deliver value to your clients or to your employer. It's also important for you to be able to set the right expectations, that what works today may not work tomorrow. And the value of your expertise as an SEO specialist is your ability to constantly learn and respond to these changes. Now that we've talked a little bit about the history of algorithm changes and that we will continue to change in the future, I want to discuss three key categories of algorithms. Because for all the changes that happened and will come along in the future, most fit into some broad stroke categories. The first category of algorithm changes are device-based algorithms. Ever since Google launched that one mobile optimization update, that has been the new normal across a wide array of algorithms. Today, Google primarily takes your mobile site and indexes that for results. This often causes issues for sites that were designed desktop first with less intuitive responsive design. This can cause a problem for those desktop-first sites because many have less quality content or less volume of content on their mobile designs. This negatively impacts their ranking and their authority. This mobile-first emphasis is one of the main reasons why SEO is so different now from a few short years ago. Taking care of mobile-first optimization should be your top priority. The trends are only continuing. More and more traffic is coming from mobile. Desktop may never go away, even if you're optimizing for a B2B customer who is likely to be in an office. More traffic, especially from decision makers, still comes from mobile. The second category of algorithms are platform-specific algorithms, the way that you access information and which provider you access it through. This affects your ranking. These fall into a couple of broad buckets. Search algorithms, as we are most focused on here. Social algorithms are another, and content is a third. Yes, this course is about search engine optimization, but understanding how search is different from other algorithms out there can help you make sense of knowledge you may have come to this course with previously and your continuing education that you should do to stay abreast with trends. Search algorithms interpret user behavior, both on the search results page and with the content itself, to determine how good a match what was served up for that query was for the intent of the searcher. The goal of the algorithm is to learn from what users are doing today to provide better results tomorrow. Actions like dwell time on content, session duration, and click-through rates are all considered. This is different from algorithms you may read about, such as a platform like LinkedIn. LinkedIn emphasizes its feed algorithm heavily on social actions, the conversations that take place. How many comments did a piece of content get? Were those comments nested in a conversation? And did they elicit a positive or strong response? A social algorithm emphasizes content consumption metrics less and interactive behavior more. This is something important to bear in mind as you learn the differences between different types of algorithms. Social-first content is only increasing, and Google algorithm updates do weigh social clout in the ranking of its results as well. Even though you do not directly optimize for a social algorithm like LinkedIn, understanding its functions will make you a more well-rounded search engine optimization specialist. The last type of algorithm is a content-based algorithm. This is what you would see on YouTube or TikTok. The consumption of the content is what determines the feed experience and which content gets surfaced next. Metrics like watch hours and reshares are how algorithms on these kinds of platforms judge value and authority. It's about which piece of content performs best, not necessarily the social actions nor the direct match to the query. It's about which content produces the greatest degree of consumption and keeps users on the platform the longest. This is different from a search query, where satisfaction with the results matching to the original query is the most important factor. Understanding the differences in these types of algorithms is important. There will always be more releases, more changes. You will never be done learning. But understanding which categories they fall into, and as one platform borrows from the trends on another, you'll be able to stay abreast and be well-rounded as an expert. The last type of algorithm category is a quality rank algorithm. These are present in search and social and content-oriented platforms. These algorithms measure the authority of one piece of content against another. The goal is to bubble up the most authoritative piece of content. It does this by constantly measuring and scoring pieces of content against one another. This relative scoring is a lot like a bracket in a sports tournament. As each piece of content wins or loses, it advances or regresses in the ranking. The only way to do really well in algorithms like this is to have genuinely authoritative and quality content that is then influenced through the mechanisms of the algorithm. This can be a combination of social factors, content-oriented factors, and query relevance factors. There are some significant pitfalls to misunderstanding the history and future trends of algorithm changes. Your content could wind up being unindexed due to poor authority, poor mobile optimization, or poor relevance, depth, or context. The result of this is missed sales opportunities, lower revenue, because all of those business outcomes come through your organic traffic. Furthermore, low quality content takes time and money to create, and yet it doesn't produce the same value for your business. In fact, it can produce the opposite effect. It could demote your authority further. It could devalue other content on your page. It is not a question of doing nothing or doing it well. It's a question of doing it well or risking a negative impact. Additionally, it would be a large waste of time and resources to produce the wrong kind of content. There is no business that would value wasted effort and negative results. Make sure you understand these differences so you can avoid those pitfalls. I'd like to give you an activity that you can practice some of this knowledge on your own. I recommend evaluating your site for mobile-friendly SEO. This is a great starting point as you go through the long list of major changes in algorithms that have happened over time. To check if your site is mobile-friendly, I recommend you go to Google's mobile page testing tool. This is a free tool where you can put in your site URL and it will evaluate it for mobile performance. If your site is optimized for mobile, you'll receive a message telling you so. At this point, you know that you're in good standing. Whether you are or are not, I would recommend in both cases diving into why. Checking your site-wide mobile usability report, including Google Search Console, would be a great way to get to that why. The goal for you in this evaluation is not to say whether or not your site is, but to know why it is or why it is not. You need to be able to connect those dots. This is the skill that you will build as an SEO specialist so that whether it's mobile optimization or some future core release, you'll be prepared to evaluate the content that you're responsible for and making sure that it is up to date with the current algorithms. A great way to build this skill further is to then compare your site to your competitors. Run the same test through Google on a competitor's website. You won't be able to see their Google Search Console results because you don't own the domain, but being able to compare how your site stacks up and then looking at that through the eye of a visitor, of a consumer, you'll be able to connect the human actions that are measured to determine that ranking. Remember, all of these algorithms are calculated based on what people do. You've reached the end of the video. At this point, we've reviewed the history of major algorithm changes as well as big categories so that you can understand future changes. Being a well-rounded SEO specialist requires you to understand where the profession started, what has changed to bring it to today, and where it could be going next. Algorithms constantly are evolving, and you will need to also. Thank you so much for learning with me. I'm Mike Phillips, and remember, the only constant in SEO is change.